All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter. We got a special one here this late morning, I guess, as the Denver Nuggets defeated the OKC Thunder last night. Final score 113-104 in an overtime thriller. What an incredible win. And I would say what an incredible experience as well. Just one of those games that you don't like in the moment. You can kind of get the sense, of course, but after the fact, last night doing the other show and then just kind of sleeping on it and then thinking about it this morning, holy cow, was that a classic. That is a classic game. And the Denver Nuggets have been playing a lot of classics lately. They have been tremendous in these moments, and the fact that they have been able to survive in a lot of these situations has been truly impressive. They just continued to do the thing, and it feels like they just needed to feel something, I guess. The regular season wasn't quite enough. They needed that playoff juice. They needed that playoff, the intensity, the focus, the level of stakes. Like, they just needed it all. So glad to see them show up in this moment. And I'm sure Nuggets fans, especially those that were in the building, they were treated to something very special last night, and it should be remembered as such. We'll talk about it all. We'll talk about how Denver's now up 2-1, and they could actually win this series if they continue to play like this. Jokic being kind of awful. Not gonna lie, it was one of the worst playoff games, maybe the worst playoff game I've ever seen him play, and Denver still beat the 68-win Thunder. And we'll get into a variety of other things too. But first and foremost, again, this is just one of those that it's an identity shifting game in so many ways. How do you handle this moment? How do you handle this environment where I was talking about this with somebody last night, my brother, who was actually in attendance at the game. He told me he's a big Nuggets fan. He went to the game, he lost his voice. Everybody was just going ballistic. It was a crazy environment at Ball Arena. I noted it before the game that this just felt like a wild one. Friday night, you get the first game one win, and then it's a super late night game, so everybody's had plenty of time to get drinks, get into their seats, get comfortable, and get ready for the show. And it just felt insane in that building. It is the loudest I have ever heard Ball Arena, and that's a credit to the fans. It's a credit to the environment. It's a credit to the Nuggets for putting the fans into a position where they could get up for this one and feel like, hey, you know what? We got a chance. But the reason why it got so loud, I think, was because Nuggets fans were unsure. They didn't know. They weren't certain, unlike in the championship run where I think everybody felt really good about Denver's chances in that, and it was just about them doing the thing. In this year, it's more about, we don't really know. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to try to will them to a win. We're going to try to yell and scream and shout and put them into a place where they can kind of ride that momentum and succeed. And lo and behold, the Nuggets took that upon themselves and succeeded in such a massive way. And credit to them for delivering in these moments over and over and over again, to the point that if it is a close game, Nuggets fans feel really good. They feel great, actually, about close games and how the Nuggets are going to deliver in those moments. And that is a crazy thing to think about. Usually it's like a 50-50 shot if you get into a clutch situation. With Denver, it's not that. You just feel better because you've got Jokic, you've got Murray, now you've got Aaron Gordon. Michael Porter hit a huge shot at the beginning of overtime. Christian Braun's making clutch defensive plays over and over again. Russell Westbrook's had clutch moments in these playoffs as well. This team is just rising to the occasion. They're a better version of themselves than they were for the vast majority of the year. And it's one of the reasons why I got thrown off so much by the level that this team was reaching or not reaching before these playoffs. They just weren't anywhere close to this in terms of the obviously the competitiveness, which understandable, it's the playoffs versus the regular season, but the level of defensive execution, the level of offensive execution, the ability to rise to the occasion in these moments. Denver wasn't a great clutch team in the regular season. They were just good. And so the fact that they have put themselves into this position, a game 3 win, a pivotal one, is just super, super important. Let's talk about the individuals. I think the first place we have to start with is probably Jokic. Horrible game. Maybe his worst playoff game that we've ever seen. The actual numbers on it, 8 of 25 from the field, 0 of 10 from 3. He had a couple of heaves in there, a couple of late shot clock opportunities. But like 0 of 10 from 3 is just really hard to do. It's actually the first time in NBA history, I believe, that has happened where somebody shot at least 25 times and went 0 of 10 from 3. Jokic just stays making history, of course. He's a history maker. He also had 8 turnovers. It was a horrible game from him, just straight up. But 20 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Still played some pretty good defense overall, especially in the second half and especially in overtime. Isaiah Hartenstein, his counterpart, goes 5 of 14. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes 7 of 22. A lot of that is because of the help underneath the basket, the help that Jokic can provide on the perimeter, just with his size, with his hands, with his ability to kind of cut off certain angles. And so it wasn't like an entirely zero game from him. But 8 of 25 is reserved for like these elite guards that never do anything. Like Jokic doing this is crazy. So the fact that Denver won this game when Jokic played that poorly, I don't know if it's a good thing because Denver's going to need him to be obviously much better going forward. But wild, wild situation for Denver to win this one with Jokic putting up that line. I don't hate that they drew up the final play for him. I know there are other guys that you want the ball, their hands in that situation, especially with the way that the game was being played. But Tony Jones and Tony at The Athletic, we're talking about this. Like you just draw it up for your best guy. You hope that he's due. You hope that he creates a big shot. And they got a good look. I kind of wish that Jokic would have caught the ball and then pump faked and driven to the rim a little bit. But look, it is what it is. I think he got a decent shot attempt. He's made that shot, that baseline shot, 16, 17 times in his career for a clutch shot. So it's not the worst idea in the world. So he played poorly overall. I think he's not going to play perfectly. He's actually kind of had a down playoffs overall based off of the previous precedent that he's shown. But he's also played, I think the Clippers were the 3rd ranked defense in the regular season and the Thunder were the 1st. So he's had some really tough matchups here in comparison to previous years where sometimes if he plays an average defense, he's going to kill him. But like he's been not as good in the playoffs as he usually is, despite the fact that he's had these massive games, game 4 in the first round, game 1 in this round, where he just put the team on his back and was amazing. So the fact that they are up 2-1 in this series, despite like Jokic playing 2 bad games, pretty impressive. And the reason why they're up 2-1 is because the starters really stepped up around him in this game. Jamal Murray was great. Jamal Murray was fantastic in this game overall. It's exactly, I think in the last podcast, I said that this has to be a Jamal Murray game. It was a Jamal Murray game. 27 points, 8 assists, 4 steals and a block, 9 of 19 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 7 of 8 from the line. He grifted a little bit, got to the line when he needed to, and made the huge plays that he needed to. The shot making was awesome. The pass that he made to Aaron Gordon to be able to see where the ball needed to go in that late fourth quarter situation with Denver down 3, and then to set up Aaron Gordon in the way that he did. Huge play, very unselfish play in that moment. And the overtime performance from him, it wasn't about the points. I think he scored 2. It was about rising to the occasion and doing what was needed. And what was needed for the Nuggets was defense. They needed to lock in. The Nuggets only allowed 2 points in the OT period. They scored however many they scored. I think it was 11. They allowed 2. And Jamal was getting attacked every single time. Pretty close. And the fact that he was able to rise to the occasion against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and basically anybody that they kind of rotated onto him. He started on Chet Holmgren in so many of these possessions. Actually, it wasn't Chet because they took Chet off the floor in overtime. He was guarding Chet in the fourth quarter, but they took Chet off the floor at various points in the OT. And the fact that he was still had something to give in that moment from a physical perspective, from a competitive standpoint, guarding his ass off in that moment, despite the fact that Lou Dort's been pressuring him up and down the floor for 48 minutes and then 53 into the OT period. He shouldn't have had any more to give. He wasn't great early defensively, and part of the reason was because you need to save it. You need to save the effort for later in these games. But the fact that he was able to get to that, guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who went 7 of 22, kind of hijacked the offense in some ways for OKC and really made things difficult for them. Jamal deserves a massive amount of credit for stepping up in this moment, for being a leader, for being a good example, for being the player that Denver could rally around. What a huge, huge performance from Jamal in Game 3. Same could be said for both Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. Let's start with Aaron Gordon. Another clutch shot, another massive shot from Aaron Gordon. 22 points, 7 of 11 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. He's just turning into an elite shooter, and I don't understand it. This entire season, man. Think about this. He has been an athletic, physical, downhill power forward for his entire career. That's been who he is. Never been a good shooter, really ever. And this offseason, he locks himself in a gym, shoots a million jumpers, tweaks his form maybe a little bit, and comes in and shoots 42% from 3 or whatever he does, 80% from the free throw line, which he never has before, shooting off the dribble mid-rangers, getting to his spots, just very comfortable in those situations. And now he's hitting the most clutch shots in the playoffs in the second round against the OKC Thunder, a team that you need those shots against. You just have to be great in those moments. And every single time the Nuggets have seen a lane, have seen an opportunity to kind of zip in there and take a win where there really wasn't before, Aaron Gordon has been the guy to kind of jam his foot in the door and make sure that there's an opportunity. Just an incredible player. And something that you don't normally expect in this moment. I think this is year 11, maybe year 12 for Aaron. Obviously, guys will shoot a little bit better, especially these athletic power forward types. And I talked about this preseason. There's an opportunity for Aaron to kind of transition into that. But the fact that he has, and the fact that he's kind of doing the Blake Griffin thing, right? Where Blake was just an athletic, over-the-top athlete, somebody who had great ball handling skills, but more than anything, it was about the explosiveness to the rim for the entirety of his career until he lost a little bit of it. And then Blake became a great jump shooter. He became a great off-the-dribble guy, but more than anything, just somebody that you could trust in these spot-up situations, especially in the modern NBA. And the fact that Aaron is now doing that as well, That's a great example to follow. It's a way to extend the career, to keep your value high, and to put yourself into a situation where everybody can trust you in these moments when the ball finds your hands. And holy cow, like you don't want the ball in anybody else's hands right now. Denver's got Jokic, they got Murray, and it's Aaron Gordon that you absolutely want to shoot with the game on the line. That is a credit to him because those guys are normally like it's been the identity for Denver for 6 years. So Jokic and Murray game. And now you want Aaron Gordon there. That's crazy. So good for him, man. Like what a crazy moment. Um, and then Michael Porter, another guy that absolutely deserves a ton of credit for stepping up in this moment. Poor 2 games in the first 2 matchups. Denver needed him to step up. Previously, I talked about there being an opportunity. Maybe do you change the starting lineup? Do you consider shifting Michael Porter out of there? Do you need more defense? They did need more defense. What they needed was Michael Porter to play better defense, and they needed the Nuggets to play better defense around him to keep him out there so that he can have games like this. He started the game 5 of 5 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3, finished with 21 points on 7 of 10 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3, 8 rebounds, fighting his tail off. And some of these shots that he's making, these clutch shots. The one at the beginning of overtime was so big. Jokic gets a bucket initially, and then OKC gets a stop. Jamal comes down the floor, dribbles into the teeth of the defense, and somehow finds the ability to get the ball out to Michael Porter. He has to relocate a little bit, but moving to his left, he catches and shoots, and it's just nothing but the bottom. Hitting that shot in that situation is sick, and it just deserves a ton of praise because those are the backbreaking ones that OKC has not been able to hit in this series so far. They have not shot well, and Denver has, and it's because Denver has Michael Porter Jr. out there, who has been an elite shooter for his entire career. And there have been times where I have thought that, hey, should Denver be trying to move Mike? Should they be trying to get a better defender in his spot that's maybe just a little bit worse of a shooter, but still somebody that they can trust in that situation? I'm telling you right now, there are very few players in the NBA, very few. Like you could probably count them on 2 hands that are that kind of role player in that situation that can hit that kind of shot. And just having the ability to do that, to relocate in that situation, to make the threes that the Nuggets asked him to make, that he took for himself, just very rare. You do not see it. So crazy stuff from him and crazy stuff from the Nuggets overall. They absolutely deserve this opportunity, this win. They have stepped up in such a big way. We got a super chat here from Mr. Exquisite Nugget. AG pulls up like from 3 like prime Clay. MPJ was clutch. 100%. The comparison that we had to Aaron Gordon in the media room was Ray Allen. Like Ray Allen, man. That's what we're talking about with Aaron Gordon right now, the way that he's playing. It's almost like Robert Horry in some situations. Like there are going to be so many people, so many fan bases that hate Aaron Gordon if he continues to make these clutch shots in these clutch moments. Just a crazy situation for Denver to be in. Aaron's been great. Michael Porter stepped up in a big moment. This is why you need him out there. Denver's going to alternate between closing with Michael Porter and with Russell Westbrook. They're probably not going to close with Peyton Watson a ton. But if Michael Porter is shooting, if he's locked in on the defensive game plan, if OKC's not targeting him enough, then, like you probably just want to have him out there because of moments like this, where you just get a free 3, you get an opportunity to be out there. You don't want anybody else like really to have that opportunity. It's big time stuff. He deserves, like with the injury that he has, toughness, resilience, all those buzzwords. He deserves it, man. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to chat about, hey, man, Denver's up 2-1. Can they, they can win this series, but it's becoming more and more real. And we'll talk about what they need to do to get over the finish line on the other side on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Okay. Another guy that deserves, two guys that deserve credit. Russell Westbrook, kind of a slower game for him. Not necessarily his most loud game, loud performance, but hit a big shot at the beginning of the fourth quarter, had a couple of steals that were big, and then just made some plays and set up Jokic at different times when they needed him to. Really good stuff. Like Russ, it wasn't his game, and that's okay. He doesn't have to have his game all the time, but it was a valuable one. They needed him to step up in that moment, and he did. Peyton Watson, same thing. 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks for Peyton Watson, 2 of 4 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. Did miss some free throws. He definitely has to make those, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and argue that, but he's been shooting the 3 ball really well. And credit to him for staying ready for this moment. He is the exact kind of guy that you would not expect to be hitting these threes at such a high rate. But the fact that he is, it's found money for Denver. They're getting great opportunities for him. Think about this. Isaiah Joe on the other end, who's been such a lethal shooter for OKC for so many years, played 3 minutes in that game last night because they couldn't try. He missed his only 3, got a couple fouls, couldn't really hang. Peyton Watson's been able to hang. He's been able to hang in this series. He's been very good. Just as good as somebody like Aaron Wiggins, somebody like even Alex Caruso. Caruso was not as good in the game last night. So Case and Wallace, these guys on the OKC bench, they're just as good. Denver has an opportunity when they're at home for Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, hell, Zeke Naji played. They have an opportunity to be better in that environment. I think the environment really took OKC out a little bit. They looked pretty shaken, pretty nervous about this environment. And it's really impressive to see Peyton Watson. He was hitting the shots on the road too, but especially these ones at home. The left corner threes, the left wing 3 that he hit. These are big, big moments. So glad to see that they've been able to step up. Not glad to see, and I am Haley says it here, can't believe they are playing again in 26 hours. I mean, holy crap. What an insane turnaround. The fact that they are going to have to play in 26 hours is crazy. I'm not surprised because it's Mother's Day. I'm spending time with the family today as opposed to tomorrow, but holy cow, it's going to be an absolute rock fight in game 4. I do not expect the Nuggets to have a lot to give. I do not expect OKC to have a lot to give. They might have a little bit more because they're just playing more guys. They're playing a little bit of an more even rotation. Shai played 45 minutes. Murray played 48. Jokic played 44. Gordon played 46. But Lou Dort only played 34. Isaiah Hartenstein only played 31. Their bench is just soaking up a little bit more time. And so kind of like in the Clipper series, you would expect those guys, the team that is keeping the bench open a little bit more, you would expect them to be more fresh the later a series goes. But then we just saw it from Denver in game 7 versus the Clippers that just might not be true. Maybe Denver just has more to give and has more in reserve in some of these situations. We just don't know. But then OKC is also pretty fresh overall, but they still look tired. So I'm curious to see what they give in game 4. I would probably say advantage OKC in that situation just because it feels like they gave a lot to game 1, didn't have a lot in game 2. They gave a lot in game 3. I think it's fair to assume that they'll have a little bit less to give in game 4. But can you write off anything at this point? Can you? Like at this point the Nuggets could they could win the next 2 games and it wouldn't shock like okay, that would shock me. Like it would shock me if Denver won the next 2 games in a row. But it might not shock some of you, like with the way that Denver's playing, with the way that they are operating, the way that they are stepping up to this moment. It's been crazy. And the more pressure that you apply to OKC, the more likely they are to crack as the younger team. Denver's been through this fire. They've had these opportunities over and over again. So credit to them and credit to Denver for being the veteran team in this moment. And OKC is going to have to fight. They're going to have to figure it out. So I remember back in 2019, Denver's going through their first playoff run on the road versus the San Antonio Spurs. They had just lost a huge game 3 in a really tough environment in San Antonio. And then they won game 4. Murray steps up. Jokic steps up. The main Torrey Craig stepped up in that game. By the way, funny story. Torrey Craig's agent wanted to, like, he was really trying to call me out and write me a new one for some of the criticism that I had for Torrey Craig up until that point. That ultimately has come to pass. But like, it's just funny to think about. Like, Denver were able to survive that game 4, and then the next round they play that 4 overtime thriller in game 3 on the road against Portland. They lose. Most teams would crack in that situation. And then they won game 4 in a very short turnaround, just about 36 hours later, kind of like this situation. So, OKC, if they are made of the right stuff, they'll find a way to turn it around and really amp it up and be ready for the moment. I kind of think that they are made of the right stuff. It's just that they're young, but we don't know. And that's what's interesting about these moments is we just don't know. You can hope, you can pray if you're OKC fans, you can pray that they're not if you're Denver fans. But what you do know is that the Nuggets are made of it. They're made of the right stuff. They have proven that over and over and over again in this playoffs. And the fact that they've done that, it's been pretty cathartic. It's been pretty cool to see. For those, and like, I've been critical of the team for a while, especially during the regular season. I thought that this element of them was gone. The way that they approached so much of the regular season, the way that it's just hard to get up for those particular moments to build the good habits, especially when you know maybe they just knew. Maybe they just knew that they had this in the reserve and they didn't need to show it at that point. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but I do think that there was a little bit of complacency. I do think that there was less urgency than there needed to be. And then Michael Malone and Calvin Booth got fired, and everybody looking around like, holy crap, that could happen to us. This might be done. This might be over if we don't step up. And they have stepped up to the plate. And seeing this again, I think is really cool. Like, it's just objectively cool. And Denver needed this. And I think the Nuggets fan base really needed this because I was talking to some folks at the arena last night. They were a little bit more pessimistic. It wasn't even my fault, I promise. It wasn't my fault. I didn't bring up the pessimistic side. Not with this person anyway. But they were like, I just had to be here. I had to be here for this moment because if this is the last opportunity, I want to see it. I want to see them really shine in the final moments. And so you've got fans that also kind of figure this out. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see whether Denver can keep this up. I want to see it. I think that it's one of the reasons why I didn't want them to break it up in the offseason. But it became very clear based off of the way that they approached the preseason and the regular season that maybe that was the wrong choice. But now you're here and you're past all the other garbage that happened during the regular season, and now you just get to play and you get to go through it, and you don't have any distractions anymore. It's just about winning. It's just about getting through. Like, playoffs are about surviving in advance. And the Nuggets are surviving right now. These games that they are playing, game 1, game 3, they are surviving. Whether they can advance or not remains to be seen. Game 4 is going to be a trip. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how they handle it. Are the Nuggets going to have enough to give in that particular game? Maybe. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what they can give, because seeing teams do this over and over and over again, it's just I'm at a loss for words in a lot of these moments, because this was not supposed to be possible. But the fact that it has been possible, that the Nuggets have shown up in this place, is just objectively cool. So credit to them. I expect Jokic to be way better, obviously, in game 4. I think if we're kind of predicting how the game goes, Jokic and SGA will both be a lot better. By the way, I didn't give enough credit to Christian Braun, who did a lot of great stuff when guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, staying in his shirt pocket, doing everything that he could to defend without fouling, stay near him, make him uncomfortable, doing the thing, like forcing him to fade away, to fade to his right, fade to his left, not going towards the basket. Christian deserves a lot of credit. Can he replicate that performance in game 4? I don't know. Holding down Shai for several games in a row, that would be pretty tough. That's going to be a challenge. OKC is going to do everything they can to try to scheme Shai open a little bit and to do everything that they can to get him better looks, whether that's against Christian Braun, whether they continue to try to hunt Jamal Murray and really just keep picking at that matchup, going at that matchup or not. I don't know. But OKC's not going to go down without a fight here. This game 4 is about to be a rock fight. I don't know how successful everybody's going to be, but the energy levels are going to be relatively low. The energy levels will be low. The effort levels will be high. Seeing which team can find a way to do that, find a way to step up. Gosh, if Denver does that, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Shay in the comments says, Ryan, we need to have a compilation tape if they win of your skepticism this season. Of course. Like, somebody put it together, man. I don't feel like putting it together, but if somebody wants to put it together, I'll put it out there. I'll retweet it. I'll share it. Like, I can make it very clear that I was not, like, I'm not going to hide from that in terms of not necessarily believing that they had this in them. They had to fire their coach. They had to fire their general manager in order to just clear the air. I was around. It sucked. It was a horrible environment for a lot of the time. That Indiana the Indiana game, basically, like, Denver had they had zero energy. They were morose after that Indiana loss. And that's the final game, of course, of Michael Malone's Nuggets tenure. They had nothing after that 4th loss in a row. And me thinking that they weren't going to be able to get to this level, it was just basically like, yeah, I didn't. I'm glad that they have. Of course, I want to see this team be successful, but I have to, if I'm going to get access, if I'm going to be boots on the ground for you guys and for Mile High Sports and really trying to do my job to the best of my ability, I just have to try and call it like I see it. But as you guys know, I get things wrong all the time. All the time. Nobody is ever 100%. in terms of this business. But the most important thing is to just keep trying to get better and to approach it with an open mind as often as possible. And so if Denver proves me wrong, then yeah, I'll do my best to own up to that. I'm not gonna hide for like, do you guys know how often I get called out by Jamal and Mike and other guys and like Christian Braun in press conferences? Like they know, they get it. But I wouldn't be true to myself. I wouldn't be true to what I have said if I didn't own up to that. So I do my best. I really do. And there's also a possibility that they still lose. I'm not like holding out for that. I would love to see Denver win. It makes my job better. It makes my like the coverage gets more attention. I get more attention. My podcasts in plural get more attention if Denver succeeds. You get these crazy views, get these crazy moments. So I want them to be successful, of course, but I'm also going to call it if they aren't. So I'm happy to see that they were able to make this happen. And yet, this is a 2-1 series. There is still so much time. Getting the first win is a challenge. Getting the second win is more challenging. Getting the third win is extremely challenging. Getting the fourth win is unbelievably difficult. So Denver's going to have to fight. This is going to be very, very difficult from here on out. As tough as it has been, it gets more difficult from here. Now, that might not change. If Denver were to advance to the Western Conference Finals, that'll be a different series. It'll be a different opportunity. But OKC is not going to roll over and die. They are going to fight. They feel like this is their year. And if you're the Nuggets, you have to know that you are taking that from somebody else. And so they're going to be fighting, scratching, clawing with everything they got. How do you respond? We will see what they do. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Good show. Good show. Having a good time here. Thank you for tuning in. All y'all, I really do appreciate it. As I said, I do my best. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know there's criticisms. I understand that. But like, we do what we can. So thank you for tuning in. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very soon.